Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, and actually, you know what? When I came off the train, the sun was coming out, so I was really excited about it. So I'm glad that everyone is able to get on the internet, and you guys didn't have any power outages. And I hope everyone is safe from, a little bit of the storm yesterday. You know what? I'm really excited about today's webinar. Anything to help you grow your business is our mantra from the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. We're always here to give you ideas, throw opportunities out there for you to collaborate with people, get more information, because once your business grows, you're going to hire more people, you're going to spend more money, and it really is a domino effect for the economy and just overall doing well for you and your business. So Nancy Jacoby is a very active member with the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. But what was really unique, she comes on our Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, our online networking, and she always has, some really great insight on growing your business. But she talks about 100% retention. And that's what really zoomed me in on doing a webinar on how to turn no's into yeses. And that's what she's going to be going over today, and giving everyone some really good tips on how to grow your business, turning the no's into yeses. And ultimately that will retain, the person coming, or the business person coming back to you. So Nancy, nice to see you. I'm so excited for this. By the way, we have a chat going on. Put your information in the chat. Nancy has a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to do like a 15-minute Q&A. So just hold off on your questions unless I see something while she's talking, or something pops up into my head that I can say, oh, Nancy, this happened. I've heard this from the people at the chamber. So put your information. I'll be monitoring that, but we'll definitely get to it at 10:45, and we will have a hard stop at 11. This is being recorded on Chamber TV. So Nancy, take it away. I'm really excited about this. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you. And I'm excited to be here too. And this is a lot of fun for me to talk about. And Helena, yes, if you see something bubbling up in the chat, that's a theme while I'm talking, please do cut in and we'll address the question right away if it's really coming up as a theme for everybody. So good morning again, everybody. I'm really happy to be here with you to talk about growing your business, influencing to yes. So a little bit about me. I am a registered nurse by trade. I like to say that I'm a recovering healthcare administrator. I've been I was in leadership positions for almost 20 years in the Greater New York metro area, both in hospital environments and then also outpatient and physician practice. I am now and have been a business owner for almost 5 years now. It's been an incredible journey. I am an executive and leadership coach. I do leadership and organizational development consulting, training and development, and I'm a keynote speaker. So that's me, that's who I am. And without further ado, here's our roadmap for today's webinar. So we'll talk about getting to yes, building your business. The first thing we'll talk about is how to build and leverage your relationships. That really is the key to growing your business. And as Helena said, it's been the key to my almost 100% retention and return rate for my clients, right? What is your unique value proposition? And we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about letting the soft sell lead, asking for the business. This is an opportunity that I see people pass up over and over and over again, and it's led to unplanned revenue for me, and I'm going to share how I did it. And then we'll talk about developing your action plan starting today, things that you can do as soon as we hang up the webinar, you can start today, and then Q&A, as Helena said. So we're starting with relationships, right? And everything starts here, building your relationship capital. I don't know how many people watched The Gilded Age on HBO. There were these two characters, and both women. This is, mind you, in the late 1800s. And one of these women just comes into town with her husband, and they have a ton of new money, and they build this big, beautiful mansion. And at first, the society crowd was kind of shunning them. They weren't really welcomed until they started to really make their presence known. And they really started to indicate that they had a whole lot of power. Well, that's when people started coming to call for favors, for help. And, this new gal in town reminds them, you got to make a deposit before you make a withdrawal. Relationships are like a bank account. You get what you put into it. And if you've put nothing into it, you really have nowhere to start, right? This has been a critical element of success to my business, is building and sustaining meaningful professional relationships, right? So making that deposit before you make that withdrawal, right? So 3 keys to getting to yes in your relationships. People have to know you. People have to like you. People have to trust you, right? So that know, like, trust. And as we're talking about influencing to yes, you'll notice that on my slides, I put 3 to 5 bullet points. And that's been proven by neuroscience to help people follow along with you, to cement concepts into their head and get to that know, like, trust with you. It helps build that know, like, trust. So when you're presenting and you're pitching, keep in mind 3 to 5 bullet points to make the audience come with you and build that know, like, trust, right? So here's what trust looks like for me. I value respectful, responsiveness, and being real, right? Those are the 3 things that I value. Those are the three vibes that I get. If I'm feeling trust, this is what I look for. These are the characteristics, the values. Take a second and think about, what does trust look like to you? What might trust look like to your prospective clients? And as you're thinking about it, maybe put it in the chat, because what you think about and what you share might help others think about what trust looks like for them, what trust looks like for their clients. And don't be shy. There's no idea that's a bad idea, right? It's responsiveness. Yes, that's a big one for me too. And Nuray, I don't know if I said it right. Value addition, Tyler, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Being reliable. Yes. I mean, because if you can't show up and deliver what you've promised, that kind of kills any element of trust, right? Dependable. Absolutely, Felix. 100%. Great communication. Credible. Absolutely. And credible gets to that know and like, right? Because if to be credible, people kind of have to know what you're about. They have to see who you are. They have to see your track record. They have to understand what you value, right? They have to kind of get to know you, like you. That's where that credibility comes from. Greg says trust means communication, collaboration, and respect. Absolutely. Saying what you mean, all great things. Thank you for sharing that. Keep it going. So building business relationships, here's your action plan, right? So 3 elements of building your relationships. So what you need from others, what they need from you, and what you have to offer, right? Those are the 3 key elements. So as you're thinking about your relationships and thinking about what new relationships you might build, think about these 3 things. What do you need from others? What do they need from you? What do you have to offer them? But before we get to the what and how, you need to think about the why, right? I think Simon Sinek says, know your why, or think about your why, or something with why in his title of his book. It's a good book, by the way. And when I'm talking about why, I'm talking about intention here, right? Because when we have a clear intention and we can communicate that intention in a real and authentic way, people are going to be drawn to you, right? So think about the why and think about how that intention shows up when you're going to be building your relationships. So here are 3 questions to assess your relationships at this moment, right? So what's working currently, right? What are you doing now to build and sustain your relationships? What needs to change? What other relationships do you want to develop, right? So maybe thinking about your prospective clients in a new way. What audiences are you leaving behind? What groups might you be forgetting about that maybe you're not seeing or you didn't think was even a possibility? Where are possibilities for mutual benefit or mutual collaboration? Sometimes we approach relationships thinking about it from the context of me to market. Well, how can me become a we, right? Where there's so much power in collaboration and working together. So what are those possibilities for mutual benefit? Example, I met somebody on the chamber and we've now been talking for a couple of weeks about how we build an offering together, right? Anything is possible. How to engage, right? So now you've decided, okay, here's what I want to do. Here are the relationships I want to build. Here's where I want to target. how do you engage? So how do you strengthen those current relationships? How do you give and help people? Where do you find your new folks and how to approach them, right? So it's a who, what, when, where, how, just like journalism, right? So this is the framework to help you build and sustain your relationships. I have found one of the fastest and best ways to build new relationships is on LinkedIn, right? I've made new connections. I've revitalized old relationships that I worked with people for 10, 15 years and I completely forgot about them. And I'm constantly sharing point of view on topics that are important to me so that I can build that know, like, trust so that people get to know me. Oh, there's Nancy. She's on LinkedIn. I have people comment to me all the time. I see you everywhere. You're always commenting on other people's posts. Yes, I'm doing that on purpose so that people can get to build that know, like, trust with me, right? And if I have an important point of view about something, I'm going to say something about it. And just by showing up and doing that, I've made $7,000 just from showing up, just from making those new connections, just from commenting on posts. One guy, I worked with him 15 years ago, maybe more, at NYU. We didn't work together very closely, but I've been just showing up and I had been doing my comments on LinkedIn and making my posts and posting my blog. And out of nowhere, he sends me a LinkedIn message. Hey, Nancy, great to see you on LinkedIn. I want to work with you. I need a coach. Out of nowhere. And I said, I mean, I didn't even know this guy was following my posts. He never liked my post. He never commented, but I built enough know, like, trust with him over that time that he said, aha, Nancy's my person. I want to work with her. He signed up and came back for 3 contracts. So I contracted with him once, he re-upped again and re-upped again. And the last time I spoke with him, so here's that maintenance, he said, I didn't forget about you. I'm going to come back. I just started a new job and I'm going to need some coaching, right? One example. Another example, I was commenting on Mel Robbins. I don't know if anybody follows Mel Robbins on LinkedIn. I commented on her post. Somebody else commented on my comment. We decided to connect offline. It's been 5 years. We've built a friendship and she's been a return client, right? So talk about building, sustaining, nurturing those relationships. It's good for business. It makes you money and it's a fun thing to do. So if you're thinking about your goals, how to build relationships, I like the SMART goal framework, that specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, right? So let's say you're thinking about, well, how do I set a goal for building new relationships? Here's an example. I will build 5 new relationships. So here's the measurable part, right? 5 new relationships with new connections at the director level or higher. There's the specificity. In the healthcare sector, relevant, right? Because that's my concentration. I primarily concentrate in the healthcare sector, and time bound by the end of second quarter 2024, right? So there's most of my elements. Now, achievable, this might be a stretch, but I think I can do it. So here's an example of how you could set a goal for building new relationships. And you can start this tomorrow. We're just starting the second quarter. We're right on time, right? So there's building relationships. So here's some reflection questions, and I'll share this with Helena for distribution after the webinar so that you can do some individual reflection about where your business relationships can use some work, right? So you might think about what relationships can you strengthen today? With whom do you need to reconnect? And don't underestimate the power of reconnecting. I reconnected with a client and it led to me getting hired for a job. You just never know what the timing is going to be, what people's circumstances are. And if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So make those reconnections today. Who do you need to build new relationships with? Who can help you, right? So think about that as part of your strategy. Our next element of our roadmap here, what is the unique value proposition? Right? So unique value proposition, I'm sure folks have heard this before. It's the benefit solution that makes you different, your product or service from the competition, and it positions it as the best possible option, right? So what is the solution that you provide? This requires you to understand the problem that your potential clients have or your relation targets have, right? This is really easy for me in healthcare because I have been in healthcare since I was 17 years old. I've been in healthcare, I'm going to give away my age now, for almost 30 years, right? I have seen healthcare 6 ways to Sunday. I've been a nurse, a unit clerk, a nurse aide. I've been a strategy leader, an ops leader, an OD leader. I've been a consultant. I've worked with so many different people in healthcare, and I've seen so many different leadership positions and the different challenges that they have and the different challenges in the industry. I understand their problems really well, and I can design my solutions to cater to their needs, right? But what makes me the best? I think it's about me, right? And if you're thinking about your UVP, I think it's about you. It's your values, your attributes, your skills, your background. What makes you different from the competition? Because if I think about consulting and coaching, they're a dime a dozen, and there's more of us every day. Everybody's pivoting to become a coach or a consultant. So, and this is my definition here, what's going to make me different from all the other guys and gals that are going and doing this? How do I distinguish myself so that somebody is coming out and saying, yep, Nancy's my person, I want to work with her, right? So as you're moving along, what is different about you? What is your UVP where people are going to say, yep, I don't want Nancy, I want him, or I want her, right? What is different about you? And again, I'll give you these so you can think about this. So it's not only what is your UVP, your product or service that you offer, and yourself, because you are part of the product or service. How can you make your UVP understandable and relatable to your partners and your colleagues, your new relationship targets? How do you market it? What is the language that you need to use to help your clients, help your prospective clients understand what exactly is that you do and how that solution is going to be beneficial to them, right? How do you talk to your new relationship targets, your new clients, your prospective clients, right? Our next element, letting the soft sell lead. All right, so think about a time when you've been hard sold. Has anybody ever been hard sold? Put it in the chat if you've ever been hard sold. Ah, Felix, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to make those reflection questions helpful. Nure, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this. Nure Aiza says, yes, it's horrendous. It is horrendous. Yes, it's horrible. And if you look at this guy, he's got his hands like this, and he's got this expression on his face, like, oh, I'm going to get you to buy, right? And thank you for that feedback, Nuri. And nobody wants to feel that way, but yet I see it time and time again. And I think maybe folks have signed up for the same sales webinars or have gone to the same sales schools where I feel like they want to put their hand in my pocket. Absolutely. And it feels smarmy, right? Where, you have act now, limited time offer. And here's a couple that I've heard recently. If not now, when? If not me, then who? Or, what is it costing you? Yeah, I understand you want me to buy. Like, I'm a business owner. I need to sell too. There's a better way to do this that gets you to yes, because oftentimes the hard sell will close the door. I had a guy hard selling me when I was the COO of a clinical practice group. He was trying to get me to buy their credentialing software. And Willie Loman, Death of a Salesman. Yes, absolutely. He was trying to get me to buy his credentialing software, and I was entertaining proposals between him and 4 other vendors. And just as Nure said, I felt like he just wanted my money, like, just sign, lady, just sign the contract. He really didn't listen to what our needs were, how they were unique from other physician practices. We kept giving him feedback about the proposal. He didn't put it in there. It was just sign. We just want your money. We just want to do business with you. And it got to the point where my boss and I had to tell him, please do not contact us anymore. You are no longer in the running, right? So let's talk about how not to do the hard sell. Let's talk about the soft sell, right? So here's the soft sell. And the soft sell is built on leveraging the relationship, right? So when you push on people, right? And again, it's that feeling that they want to put your hands in your pockets, right? When you push on people, people are going to push back. I've done it, right? So if they feel like you're trying to make the decision for them or you're trying to drag them along, they're going to be like, whoa, 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 I need some time to think about this. I don't know how I feel about this. That's what you don't want. If you think about this as a partnership, and this is partly what makes me different from other people, I am partners with folks from minute one. They don't know that, but that's how I make them feel. We're partners together. We are partners in designing the proposal. We're partners in marching the proposal through the organization. It's all about the relationship. I am there with them side by side, right? If I've done my job and I've built the relationship, they shouldn't need the hard sell because they already have the know, like, trust. They understand my unique value proposition. They know me. They know who I am. They know my background. They understand my service. There shouldn't be a whole lot of buy now, limited time offer, act now, if not me, who, like, all those like salesy, smarmy, yucky things that you just kind of sit there and go, ugh, I don't like this, right? This should be about choosing each other. The soft sell is about that relationship, choosing to be in this relationship with each other and choosing to march this business down the line together. Now, the soft sell requires building and sustaining that relationship and leaning into that relationship. But I want to talk about confidence for a minute. And a lot of the times what I've seen, and I've had this issue too, is if I'm not feeling confident, I start shifting into that hard sell because it comes from a place of desperation. If you're sitting in your confidence and you know your UVP and you know the UVP that's you, and the prospective client knows that UVP, and you can really sit in that confidence, you can take your time. You can slow down. You can really be patient in the conversation and really listen to what the client is saying or what the person is saying, so that you can really understand the nuances of the need. Not, oh, you need a credentialing software? Here, sign our 20-page contract. And this is how we're going to do business with you. And here are our terms. Well, you haven't heard a word I've said, right? So listening, and I talk about quiet persistence because, and I'll talk about the no, not yet, or no, not now. Quiet persistence sometimes means getting a no, listening to why it was the no, and then coming back later again with the soft sell when the need presents itself. Or sometimes what I've experienced, and this is part of my 100% retention and return rate, sometimes the client comes back to me after they've given me a no. I've had this happen twice where, most recently, so now I'm working on a 6-figure proposal with somebody in my network. I've known her for 12 years. For 5 years, I've been soft selling, and each time it was, I don't think the time is right, or I don't know if we need this. She came back to me 3 months ago and said, I want you to put together a proposal. Here are my needs, and I'm coming to you because I trust you. And there you have it. There's the currency that gets us to yes every time. I trust you. She said those words. And that meant a lot to me because people trusting me means a lot to me. So I really take this to heart, right? So that soft sell requires you to really lean into that relationship, sitting there in your confidence so that you can take your time, be patient, listen, and be ready when the opportunity comes back. So again, some reflection questions for you. Think about your current sales style, whether you know it or not, you have one, right? Think about what's working, because there's always something good that we're doing, right? So what's working in your current approach? What maybe is not working, or maybe what's something that you can try differently? And think about where you can use that soft sell, right? How you can use it. In which relationships do you have that are primed and ready for you to start soft selling people? Then it's asking for the business. And again, this is an opportunity that I see people pass up over and over and over. So tell me, who wants $10,000 in unplanned revenue? How does that sound? Does that sound good to anybody? Anybody interested? No takers on $10,000 unplanned revenue, right? Helena says, yes, the chamber is. Tyler says, sure, right? I will tell you, this happened to me. I booked an unplanned $10,000 in Q1 of this year, and it wasn't luck. It was timing. It was ignoring my nerves and going, oh my God, I don't know, I'm nervous, and just speaking up and asking for the business. Now, this was a client that I had been doing business with for about 5 years, and I was working with them doing one-to-one executive coaching for their leaders. And I had taken a step back. And coming back into my business, I was calling all of my old partners and all of my old clients saying, hey, I'm coming back full time. Wanted to let you know I'm available for coaching again, speaking, training, and development. And I just got certified and did a course on working with teams so that I could really up my skills. And by the way, do you have any openings for teamwork? That is exactly what I said. And my contact said to me, as a matter of fact, I do. I have 2 people that asked me for team facilitation. We don't have the bandwidth. Can you come in and do it? And there we go, $10,000 in unplanned revenue. So the easiest way to get the business is to ask for it. Again, call up your old partners and contacts. Like, don't be shy. Remind them, hey, hi, I'm here. I know that we haven't talked in forever. I'd love to catch up. Let's schedule a virtual coffee. Let's talk about what you're doing. You never know where the opportunity is going to come from or what you're going to say that's going to trigger something in them that says, hey, wait a minute. Nancy's talking about coaching or teams and, gosh, we're kind of having problems with our team, or this team has a need here. I'm wondering if I could bring her in. And don't skate around it. I see a lot of people get nervous and, oh, I'm kind of wondering. Be direct. As Brene Brown says, clear is kind. I'm working with more teams now. If you have opportunities for teamwork open this quarter, I'd love to help you. Tell me when I can get on the docket, or tell me who else I can talk with, right? Don't be shy. Go after it. A lot of the times the problem here is us, right? Good old Taylor Swift. I love this song. It's me, hi, I'm the problem. Because what is our biggest obstacle? Fear, right? Fear of rejection, right? Oh my gosh, they're not going to want me. They're not going to want my services. I'm not the right person. I don't have the skills, right? All of these things come up, all of this doubt, the fear of they're going to say no. Okay, so they say no, right? What's the worst that can happen? They say no. Nobody's going to die from hearing no, right? Fear of looking stupid. Okay, maybe it's a little rough the first time you try it. It's a little raw the first time you try it. But the 10th time you try it, the 15th time, the 40th time, you're going to get more comfortable. You're going to get more polished. It's going to feel more natural. It's going to feel like second nature to you. And you're going to say, why did I wait so long to do this? Fear of messing it up. Again, it's not about getting it right. It's not about getting it perfect. It's just about getting out there, right? Fear of being pushy. And we talked a little bit about this. You can balance that with the soft sell. You can lean on those relationships. You can lean into your authenticity and your intention. Think about why you're doing this. My intention is to help and to serve. It makes me happy. That's why I came back into my business. I came back into this so I could be behind the leaders, helping them and supporting them. If you lead with your intention, it's not going to come across as pushy, right? If you're leaning into that hard sell and, oh my God, I need to make money, I need the business, that's where it's going to come across in that pushy territory, right? So asking for the business. Have you heard closed mouths don't get fed, right? One of my old bosses who I respect very much, and she could sell ice in the middle of winter, right? She always used to say, don't ask, don't get, right? If you don't ask, you don't get. Worst they could say is no. And when you get a no, and I've experienced this, no does not mean never. It just means not now. It means not yet. It means not today. And here are two opportunities when you get a no, and if you're listening to the client and what they're saying, you might hear, I'm not sure, I need more time, I need to understand. That's your opportunity to lean in and say, well, tell me a little bit more. What is it that I can clarify for you? Or what is it that you're not sure about? Or tell me a little bit more about your challenge. Ask those probing questions. Or if they say, no, this product or service isn't right for me. If you have other lines of business, as I do, you could say, well, tell me what might be a fit. What does a fit look like to you? Describe how that might feel, right? Also, what I encourage is rejection is not personal. It's not personal. It's an opportunity to learn and come back better and stronger. And again, if all of this was easy, it would feel easy. Like I talk about all this stuff, these words are on a slide, and you might say, sure, easy for you, right? It wasn't easy for me. I had to really work on this, and I had to really step into it. We're being bold, right? We're asking for that business. That's how we get to yes, right? So again, these reflection questions, think about what is holding you back from asking for the business, and why is this holding you back? And what might be different if you tried, right? So if you're thinking about, oh, I'd love that $10,000 in revenue that I didn't budget for, how do you get that? What might happen if you tried it? Who can you talk to tomorrow to ask for the business? I know we all have networks and contacts and colleagues and former bosses and all these people that we know. Who can you talk with tomorrow to ask for the business, right? So starting today, think about What's one takeaway from today? And if you write down your takeaway, if you have a paper and pen, or if you're jotting down, if you're typing notes on a laptop or whatever you're doing, neuroscience shows when we write things down, we process it, it cements in our head, and we're more likely to do something about it. And define how you're going to use that takeaway today. Put it in the chat, because sometimes people are struggling with, well, what is my takeaway? I'm really not sure how I'm going to start it. If you put yours in the chat, you might help somebody today get started. You might say, oh my gosh, this, of course, Jane had that great idea and she's doing this. I can do that too, right? So put it in the chat. And here we are at the end. I'd love to hear what questions and comments that you have. And I love the takeaways coming in, asking for the business, leveraging the relationships. Don't fear rejection. Yes, absolutely. The more rejection you get, the better. It just helps you make a stronger presentation, a stronger offering. You get more confidence, and you're going to do it better next time. Absolutely. And Tyler, yes, reconnect. You never know. You may just call them up or send them an email, and they may say, oh my gosh, Tyler, I was thinking about you, or we need this, and there's your $10,000. Right. So I'll turn it back over to Helena to manage the Q&A.
Nancy, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Fantastic presentation. You know what? Reading the chat. So if someone doesn't give you the business, do you recommend that that person go back in a nice way and say, why didn't I get the business? Or just kind of tiptoeing on just them saying no and just cutting off that communication, or should they go back to that person?
I think it depends. So if it's somebody that I have a very strong relationship with, I can be very direct with them and say, hey, I'm seeing this didn't land. Can you share some feedback with me? I'd love to hear what opportunity I missed with you and how I can make it right, or how I can make my offering fit better with what you needed, right? So I can be very direct like that. I'm still going to reach out, but I might be a little bit more, I might be a little less direct with somebody that I don't have as strong of a relationship with, but I'm not going to give up on the contact, right? I'm going to keep coming back. And it may just be, I might not even ask what went wrong or give me some feedback. What I might say is, hey, I just finished a new Teams training, and here are 3 things I've learned, and share it with your teams. Maybe it'll help them. And if I can be of any help to you, let me know. And then I kind of go away and be quiet. And then I go out on my social media, and, I hit my messages there. And then I find that they come back and they're like, oh, let's talk again. Like I said, with the person that I'm developing this proposal with now, it took her 5 years. It took me 5 years of me coming back, having those gentle conversations, coming back saying, oh, just a reminder, I do this. I'm hearing this is a problem. I do this. And she finally came to me and said, I want you to put together a proposal. I need help. I trust you. Right. So it's being persistent, just keep coming back, keep coming back.
That's a great answer. Also, someone talked about cold calling. This is where what about cold calling? Very challenging when tasked to call customers who have purchased our offerings at one time or maybe years ago. You know what, and Nancy, I am a big, huge, advocate for cold calling, because for me, I like being on the phone. And you don't get you can send them an email, but the conversation can completely turn by asking one question, or just having that communication that you cannot get in an email. And I know not everyone picks up the phone, but you know what, Nancy, you can piggyback on that or go opposite me. But from me, you know what, we still pick up the phone from the Greater New York Chamber, because we want to hear the concerns about businesses. If I didn't, pick up the phone from Nancy, and Nancy didn't come to, the online networking, she wouldn't be here giving this great information. So it is communication. You need to, have these great conversations. So Nancy, what do you think about cold calling?
I think it depends. And I think your point is spot on. I'll give you an example. I was in my corporate leadership career about, I don't know, 12 years ago, and I was having a busy day, and my phone lit up, and I was like, who the heck is this? But on a whim, I was like, whatever, maybe it's a patient. I'll pick it up, right? And I picked it up, hi, this is Nancy. How can I help you? And it was a recruiter, an executive recruiter. And I'm like, I'm starting to roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, here it comes. I'm going to get pitched. And she asked me such an interesting question. And she said, how do you decide to buy a dress, right? What makes you decide to buy a dress when you go shopping? And I was like, wait, what? So she kind of took me off guard, but I was like, oh, this is interesting. I want to kind of follow along with this. So I was like, all right, I'll play along. And I started getting into conversation with her, and I really wasn't looking at the time, but she cultivated, and I don't know how she did it. I think she appealed to interest. She was persistent. She was gentle, and she didn't go to a hard sell right away. It was just a conversation. And at the end of the call, I was on the phone with her for an hour. At the end of the call, I sent her my resume, and she put me forward for 3 different positions. But long story short, I've been in a professional relationship with her for 12 years. I call her when I want a thought partner. I've referred other people to her. And she had chutzpah, man. She had guts, like just calling me out of nowhere. I had no idea who she was. So you never know.
I actually think it's great just to introduce yourself and then you can send an email. You know what? I'm reading the chat right now. You know what, Risa, I have this issue and we've talked about it. We have online networking Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, and we go around and talk about challenges and things like that after everyone gives their pitch. How do you make time for regular teaching out and posting on social media? I find it challenging to do the work and finding new work. That is a challenge. We talk about this all the time. You know what? It takes a lot of work to find, do social media posting and picking up the phone and cold calling and getting business. So Nancy, I'm going to let you answer that.
Yeah, it's a challenge that I deal with daily. And I am a drill sergeant about my schedule. Like if you ever contact me and say, hey, can we do a one-on-one? I'm like, here's my Calendly, right? And I block my calendar to say, okay, and from this time to this time, I'm going to be on LinkedIn and I'm going to post, or from this time to this time, I'm going to troll LinkedIn for new connections and I'm going to put out 5 new invites today, right? So it's a combination of managing my time blocking, and setting those SMART goals. And in case this helps anybody, I have habit trackers and weekly planners and weekly goals. And I do this on Sunday nights. So I take an hour of my Sunday, usually in the late afternoon, and I set out my plan for the week. I look at my calendar for the hard things that I have on my calendar. And then I figure out, okay, where can I squeeze posting on social media? Where can I squeeze connecting with new people? Where can I squeeze trolling for new, for new connections? That's how I do that. And I'm seeing a lot of things in the chat. So here's what I'll say, because there are people asking what happens when you don't know the potential client. Sometimes people call and they just want a quote and to see if you fit in their budget. Those are not my people. And that's okay. They can go work with another consultant. I'm not interested in just giving you a quote and a budget, because I don't feel like as the client, it serves you the best and I get no fulfillment from it. So if there are people who just want to quote, I'm not your person. Go find somebody else, right? Greg is talking about being very quirky and open about himself, and maybe somebody else is more reserved. Yeah, not everybody is going to jibe with us, and that's okay. I always say that I'm not for everybody. So go find your client. I talk a lot about finding my people. Find your people. Find the people that are going to jibe with you, that are going to click with you. They're out there. And if there are people that are not for you, that's okay. You probably don't want to do business with them anyway, because you don't have that values alignment. And that's going to start showing up in the proposal stage. And if it doesn't show up in the proposal stage, it'll show up when you start working together. And then that gets awkward and it can get sticky, right? So go with who you are. Be your authentic you. Embrace it, particularly as you're building these relationships, and you'll attract the right people.
Do you use any form of automation?
I do when I'm building my back-end programs. I don't do it in my relationship building. So for example, if I'm building a 6-week program, I have a person who builds all my integrations and automations to connect my payment platform, my email notifications, my calendar invites, any materials that I have to distribute. That's the only time that I use automation. I do not use it for connections. I don't use it on LinkedIn. The answer is no.
What's your, I'm just reading also, what is your go-to for LinkedIn when you're introducing yourself? Is it just a general, hello, how are you? I know you do a lot of posting and commenting, but if you are reaching out to, people for the first time, how is your introduction? Is it lengthy? Is it simple? Is it, funny? What would it be?
I think my answer is it depends. A lot of the times I'm reaching out in response to something that I saw, right? So if somebody made a post about, oh my gosh, working with my team is so challenging. I'm just having such a hard time, right? I might reach out to them and say, hey, I saw your post on LinkedIn. And by the way, I see that you're in the New York metro area. I'm in the New York metro area too. I saw that you're having trouble with teams, wondering if you want to have a chat. No pressure, no sales, just a coffee chat, right? It might also look like I connected with somebody and I had a conversation with them. We went to the same school and they had posted something and they surfaced and I said, hey, we're alums together. How about that? We should connect and have coffee and see how we can help each other. So it depends upon the kind of relationship that I'm trying to build. If it's a complete cold invite where I'm trolling LinkedIn and I'm like, oh, this person would be a good contact for me to nurture and build, then it might be a little bit more lengthy. Hey, I'm Nancy. I'm from the New York metro area. Your profile came up on my feed when I was looking on LinkedIn. I'd love to get to know you if you're open to it. If you're open to it, here's my Calendly. We can schedule a Zoom coffee chat. That's typically what I do.
Do you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for leads?
I don't.
We also, just FYI, we have another webinar on how to grow your network and business on LinkedIn on May 9th. So take a look at chamber.nyc as we're talking about LinkedIn. So you know what? Asking for the business. Let's go back to that because I think, Nancy, that is the number one asset and also not an asset. It's a double-edged sword
It
on
can be.
how people do it. And I'll tell you something, I've been doing, I call it sales and business development since I'm dating myself for over 40 years. And I talk to businesses all day long. I can hear when someone is on the phone and they just talk themselves out of a sale. Do you have, and I'm like, that was the turning point. They had them, and then they just, it just, took the wrong, avenue, and then it just went full circle. Can you kind of, do a little follow up on that?
Absolutely. I've seen that happen with others. And I think what happens is they start to realize, oh my gosh, I might get the sale. I might get the sale. I might get the sale. And they start talking too much. And they just start blabbering. And all of a sudden it starts taking a left turn. And if you're watching, you could see the person going, what are they doing? What are they talking about? Right. So you can see that happening. They talk too much. They start almost backpedaling. Well, and if this isn't the right time, or I'm just saying, or I'm just talking, I'm just presenting, they use the filler words, those just, and I don't mean to be pushy. I'm just saying this, but if it's not the right time, they're almost offering the client objections to the sale. Right? I want to say, don't do that. Put it out there and sit there and be quiet. Right? Just be quiet. Let the client respond, because when the client responds, that's where you learn, right? You're going to listen for what the client is saying and you're going to respond to what the client is saying. And you can hear sometimes the need, you can hear their objection, and then you can redirect. But a lot of the times I'm just like, oh, be quiet, be quiet.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about that. I also want to, what, a little bit of, the back, like the back end of before you do. So just, and Nancy, you can piggyback on this. Make sure that, in your correspondence of your email, your signature is correct. There are so many times that I have, that you do have a signature, that you're, when you're talking to someone, and they are getting, you're saying, oh, you know what, I'm about to sign a contract with them, or I need to get in contact with them. And you're going through the email, they don't have their signature, and you have to find their first, their first signature with all their data information. Put your signature, you know what, put it on everything. Put your signature, you go into Gmail and you just go into the settings and just put it in that you have all your information on every single, whether it's a forward or reply, very important. Also, the person, you know what, Nancy, what do you think about the person that answers your phone for you? Do you know how many times that people call back and, the person that's answering the phone, I'll be ready to, give them business. The person didn't want to take my name, say the person's not in, call back at 2:00.
Ooh.
And I'm like, you know what, if they're not invested in me, so you want to, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, gosh, if you have somebody answering the phone for you, and this goes into hiring and screening people, if I'm going to work with anybody and hire anybody, I'm checking for values alignment, I'm checking for attributes, and I'm checking for, are they going to answer the phone the way I want them to answer the phone? Hi, this is so and so for so and so company. How can I help you today? And if the person's not available, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they connect with who they need to connect with. So they're not in call back. It's, let me take your name and number. Let me find that person for you. Just hang on the line. They're just getting out of a meeting. Let me see if they can get on the phone. I used to do this for my old boss, where if it was really, really important and he was in a meeting, I'd say, you know what? Hold the line for just a minute if you would. I'm going to see if I can grab him for you. Right? Particularly if it was a very, very important stakeholder, or this was a very, very important topic. If we treat people like they're important, and those first impressions matter. Like I felt so bad. I had a technological glitch with my voicemail, and people were leaving me voicemails, and I never got them. The phone wasn't ringing. I had no notifications. I had no idea people were calling me. I'm like, holy cow. So I took that off everything and I put my mobile on. And I said, people are going to call me. They can call my mobile. I've got to fix this, right? So those first impressions and who's engaging from your front end sales and front end context, it's so important.
Absolutely. And you know what? Also make sure that, you know what, if you're looking to close it, you're communicating with someone and you're getting back and forth besides the email, make sure that you know what, your message, that they can leave a message for you and your voicemail message box is not full. I I mean, I can't tell you, you know what, you start laughing, but I'm just sitting there going, it's the craziest thing that if you are in business and your mailbox is full, you know what? Just shut your door and just say, I'm no longer in business. What do you think about that, Nancy?
It's and I'm laughing because I had that happen to me before. I didn't know my voicemail was full, and I'm like, holy cow, how mortifying is this? Right? But I think it goes back to the question that somebody else asked about, how do you balance all of this? You have to work on your business and in your business. And if you're a solo, you're the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the CMO, the CTO, the executive assistant, you're the supplies orderer, whatever, right? And you have to budget time. I budget time on Friday afternoons when I don't want to do anything else to clean out my email, clean out my voicemail, file papers, because I'm not doing anything productive from 2 to 5 on Friday afternoon anyway. I may as well use that time to get organized, right? You're ready for the next week. You're making sure that you're staying on top of it so that people can contact you, right? Somebody sent me, I don't know, it was a huge file. It clogged up my inbox and I started having emails bounce. And somebody was kind enough to email me on my personal email and say, hey, is there something wrong with your email? You're usually really responsive. I had no idea that my email was bouncing because I was on with clients. I was doing things. I'm like, holy cow, I got to fix this right away. So yeah, making regular time for it so that people aren't turned off and saying, well, this chick doesn't have her act together. She can't even clean out her email, or she can't even clean out her voicemail. Like, what's her problem? How's she going to be responsive to me?
So true, so true. So, any other questions? I just want, so Nancy, just do a closeout, an overview closeout. Well, I'm monitoring the chat before we leave.
Yeah, I would say, you know, this isn't rocket science. We just have to think about how we want to be treated, right? If we're the client, how do we want to be treated? If we're the target of a new relationship, how do we want to be treated? How do we want to be sold to? And then I would say, harness the courage, pull up your bootstraps and just get out there. We're all trying to do this. Everybody looks silly at one point or another, and really nobody remembers that you looked silly because we all have so much other stuff going on, and we're also self-absorbed anyway. They're not going to remember. Go out there and go get it. The world is out there. It's yours. Build that business, ask for that business, have the courage and just do it.
I love it. Ask for the business. The worst they can say is no, and the best thing they can say is yes. And that no might even turn into, like Nancy said, 6 months later or 2 years later, keep that door open. Very, very important.
Yep.
Nancy, can you go back to the slide with all your contact information so people can take a screenshot if they have any questions? They can email me, they can email you. It is being recorded. It will be on Chamber TV. I just wanted to say, this Tuesday, we talk about growing your business. Tuesday at 10 o'clock, it's online networking with the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. If you're on this right now and you want to grow your business and you register, this is like a promo for you. Instead of paying the non-member rate, if you are on this webinar, you can join us. Nancy is usually on Tuesdays. You can have that conversation. Join at the member rate. It will save you a little bit of money. It's just this time that I see a lot of people that might be interested as a follow-up of what Nancy was saying. So if you're on this webinar and want to join us Tuesday at 10 o'clock online networking, you can register, save a little money at the member rate. Also, you know what? Take advantage, of the 30-word promo with the Greater New York Chamber. It is free advertising. If there's an opportunity for you to promote your business wherever it is, take advantage of that. It's the opportunity. And also, Nancy brought up, that if you might not be the right person for the person that you're talking to, you know what? We have a lot of referrals and we talk about this on the online networking. Collaborate with people in your lane because there's great opportunity for government contracts and things like that. So even though you might not be the best fit for someone, you recommending someone else will give that person might come back to you because you gave them such a good recommendation. So these are just little tidbits, to help you grow your business. Turning the no's into yeses. I think we got some really great ideas. And you know what? Nancy is here for do a one-on-one. I'm sure your phone is going to be blowing up after this. Like I said, everyone, thank you for joining us. And it will be on Chamber TV. And if you can, reach out and do a one-on-one with Nancy. Nancy, thank you so much for your time. We so greatly appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you. It was a great pleasure to be here today. And thank you for the opportunity and the chamber. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I'm just watching the chat. Everyone's saying thank you. So I guess no other questions. Nancy, have a great day, everyone. We're a day away from Friday, and hopefully the sun will come out. So everyone, enjoy this weekend, and hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye, everyone. Everyone's saying thank you, Nancy.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
See you later, everyone.